Hello there, my name is Graham, and welcome to the first of what I hope to be many Miskatonic repository roundtables, where I sit down with one of Nook's playgroups and we discuss one of the community scenarios available on Drive-Thru RPG. If you have a scenario you wish to submit to Nook for a roundtable, please find the email on the About page. And with that, sit back and enjoy our discussion of Beyond the Flesh. Spoilers for that, as well as a companion scenario, Kiss of Blood. Okay, so we're here to discuss the scenario which is called Beyond the Flesh, and I believe it was done by Sweet. You were GMing this one. Do you want to give us a breakdown of the scenario as just a small summary, and before we start?
Yes, I can. In a world where the names are again weirdly German, weirdly Slavonic, but mostly Old British, we encounter a small town that has a slight problem with half-decaying corpses of animals showing up at the riverbank. And our intrepid investigators are sent there by their now known patron to investigate these things. And they will find out that it is a fleshy abomination that has been made by a crazy scientist.
Yeah, they've joined an order, haven't they? The investigators.
They haven't necessarily joined the order yet, but the order is pulling the strings behind, yes.
Okay, so did your lot know, or was this something that was meant to be more in the dark? I just spoiled it like a whole campaign.
You didn't spoil the whole campaign because it didn't bring the order that much into play, because it wasn't a thing that the investigators went towards.
There's a lot of cool stuff that you touched on with the sort of aspects they could find for the different sort of factions within it, but I guess we'll get to that in time. So let's start. I guess we'll just keep with you, Sweet, for now. How did you find the setting and style?
The setting keeps in general style with the tone of the entire setting and the adventure before this. I liked this one a lot more than the last adventure. It had a bit of a more investigative feel to it. There was an actual mystery for the players to sink their teeth into, and not just obvious vampires in the obvious castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kiss of Blood was the first one, wasn't it? And this one is taking its beats from Frankenstein instead of Dracula this time, in a sort of very gothic horror setting. Okay, cool.
Yes, exactly.
Cosmic, what about you? How did you find the setting? Was it still to your taste?
I'll just echo Sweet said. It was so much more investigative than the Kiss of Blood adventure. We were able to get into some witnesses, some evidence, some people we needed to talk to. Very much more a traditional Call of Cthulhu mystery adventure.
So you felt more at home with this one, basically?
I felt there was more challenge to this one. Okay. In the previous one, it was trying to avoid going to the castle and finding a reason to stay in the town as opposed to just go up and confront the vampires. But in this one, it was, there's this going on, and there are these people, and why is that happening? And there are these mysteries to be solved. So yeah, very much more preferable.
So it was intrigue. All right, nice. What about you, Mike? How did you find it?
Again, this is all taking place in the 1880s, as you mentioned before. It's somewhere in Southeast Europe, and we're all a bunch of Victorian folk. And I felt both of them have good atmosphere. I like that time period and setting. The first one more a adventure, and this was definitely more of an investigation. And so I agree, this was the more enjoyable of the two pieces.
Did you find any differences between the towns? The first one, this one's called Fenwicket. Can't remember the first town's called. Sweet.
The first one town was called Karlochik.
Right.
The first one had a lot actually going on with this whole festival setting, which was
undeveloped.
Elaborated.
Yeah, it wasn't developed enough.
Developed enough in the adventure, and that would have had
to separate the two of them,
like a lot of potential to be very much fun. This one gave a better of the small town feel, I think. What was interesting to the town was that it had a ferry between the two halves of the town, which is a literal and a narrative choke point. And that was the part in this adventure that wasn't developed enough, because I was like, there's got to be something up with the ferryman. No, there's nothing up with the ferryman.
Oh no.
Right, and there's the chance of possible boat traffic or something going around on the riverbank side. Yeah. Whereas you had an undivided city in the first adventure. This was a divided city, so there's like you finish the stuff on one side before you go finish the stuff on the other side, and you could go back and forth, but it felt like you had two little cities, perhaps.
What about you, Hedge? How did you find the city and the environment and setting?
Yeah, I think I'd obviously echo the positive comments everyone's made about the feel of the place. It's very Victorian. It provides a space where a lot of the tropes that you associate with that sort of world can be played out. And so it was very comfortable. It was very easy to get into character. But the choke point they're talking about feels really like the bit to take away and consider again, which is that it's quite a big town when drawn down. And so a couple of times we made choices about going somewhere that was close when actually narratively it would have made more sense for us to cross the city.
Yeah.
And that was something which a little bit of suspension of disbelief and a little bit of discussion happened while we played.
Yeah, when it comes to sandbox sort of environments, everyone always tends to choose the path of least resistance and just go to the nearest thing rather than anything else, even though it's an illusion because, well, nothing exists and you just go here sort of thing. It's a weird quirk of players have this sort of mental block with going somewhere far. But yeah, the choke point.
Yeah, I don't think there was any narrative issue with it. It was just that the players tended to want to go to the nearest point. So we were like, well, we could just pop into the church because it's right beside us, even though we don't have a narrative reason to go to the church.
You just knew it was marked on the map, therefore you went there.
Yeah, which is one of the issues with using maps, I guess.
Yeah, this is why I quite like tokens to like place on maps when you get a location. It's a bit gamey, like a sort of point and click game. Something would appear on a map somewhere.
Also, there were a lot of clues in the game that involved riverbanks, so we figured that the only person who knew the riverbanks were the boat people, and yet there was nothing the boat people knew.
Oh, shit. Oh, well.
We got on a boat which took us up to the riverbank area.
Yeah.
Which led to some great hilarity.
Could have just walked there.
And we fell off a boat, which gave us also great hilarity.
That was fun. All right, let's move on to the opening then. How did we all find the opening? Again, let's start with Wheat as the keeper.
The opening is that they're sent there by the same man that has sent them to the other town in the other adventure, but this time in a less of a personal matter, but more of the general investigate the stuff here, because you've already investigated stuff. Then again, the possibility of either a short train ride and a carriage ride or a longer carriage ride.
Okay.
The players chose to take the short train ride and the short carriage ride, and thus didn't encounter anything interesting very much, except some lights in the swamp, maybe.
Okay, so if they went the other route, they'd have found some other different things there, perhaps?
There would have been more in the general setting there on the map that they would have run into, but for that you would need to check out the map. It's not in the adventure in general, but if you send them on such a long carriage ride, you might as well touch on some of the points on the way.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So just arriving in the town normally, sort of like a horse and cart sort of deal, like a coach.
The opening, we were recovering from the first adventure.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because we got beat up badly in the first adventure and probably in trouble with the law. And so they kind of bailed us out of trouble and gave us a chance to recuperate, rebuild sanity and such.
So did you think there could have been a better opening to it, or was it just you had to get there by coach and that was it? There's not really much else you could do to kind of open it any differently? It feels a little similar.
For me, I like the opening. I like the option of choosing our method of travel so we could take one route or go via a different route.
Yeah.
If something had happened, and as I say, if there had been people on the train who were going elsewhere or they'd heard something that we could investigate before we'd arrived, or if we were on a coach and a prototype of the Dr. Frankenstein character, which we'll get onto later, attacked us or something like that, that might have, just build in some foreshadowing of the plot as you're traveling, because realistically we could have just started at the train station. Yeah,
you need something there, I think. But I mean, it's a difficult one because there's not a lot of different ways you could get here. There's no planes or anything like that. But you definitely could be given a dossier to look through while you're on the train or in the coach to go over. That'd be probably a good idea. And you could probably see some sights on the way, and that might make you think twice about what's happening and that sort of thing.
Even a hard spot hidden, you see a windmill in the distance.
Oh, even just show them windmill. Just see. Do you see the windmill? Sort of a broken windmill. It's crackling. It's very Curse of Strahd, that isn't it, Mike?
Oh yeah.
This little windmill in the background. I quite like that imagery though. It's kind of cool. So, Hedge, how did you find the opening?
So the actual mission was very simple. You went, you talked to the magistrate then, it's that hand waving thing, gives you powers in order to investigate the mystery. So
Oh, okay,
like,
that's
we
cool.
had a scene where that happened. It was nice and simple. So mechanically, it was all explained. A bit of a Deus Ex moment was put forward.
Did you all squabble over the badge? So you only get one badge.
No, my character just took it and didn't tell the others.
Awesome, I love it.
But what I didn't feel happen was the horror hook wasn't really placed, which I think is kind of what everyone was discussing. There should have been, or there could have been, us seeing something in the water, or it could have been forced that we go past the abandoned Lot's homestead, or otherwise pointed out, because players always investigate anything the keeper says. So if the keeper says something, it gives us something to go, ooh, a plot point.
Yeah, that's true. So if you'd passed the old homestead on the way in, it would have been something to look at. So you passed the windmill and the homestead. There's like two major plot points you could have like get straight away.
Yeah,
could have been quite kind of interesting and put everyone on the right track. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. Did you hang about in the town? Did you get residency, like a sort of rooms and accommodation, or did you just ignore all that?
That was really nice. We were very well off English gentlemen, had our servants with us, journalist and hunter and that. And it was...
This party was split for most of the adventure.
Well,
weren't your servants?
Some people that didn't realize they were our servants.
Right.
And in the tavern, it was great because we could have that little bit of, I hate to say it, almost D&D tavern experience where there's the locals and they're wrestling, and if you beat them in an arm wrestle, they have more respect for you, and that's what we did. We were able to get them on side, and just happened to turn out that one of the people in the tavern was one of the plot points, and it was kind of like, oh great, that was really cool to actually have that happen organically to us. So I really enjoyed the tavern part.
Yeah, I was going to wonder if you found the Teamster or not. But yeah, it did seem like that. It felt, when I was reading it, like when I listened to a bit of Cosmic's game at the Reign of Terror, it felt a little bit like some of the scenes in there. That sort of like get together in the pubs and have a good time sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, did you all enjoy the pub?
Yeah, it was good. If we had come through the carriage, we would have arrived at the Brazen Boar Inn on the north side. Because we took the train, we came at the Witchlight Inn on the south side.
Okay. So you actually
Correct.
come in different sides of the town if you come in on the train or not?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Does that changes the entire sort of opening, really?
I just told them to choose one. For example, the Teamsters, they wouldn't have met if they came in through the north side and chosen that inn.
Yeah.
I think there would have been something else, but the Teamsters specifically are in the south side inn. Unfortunately, the party never followed up on the plot point Teamster that they encountered.
Oh no.
Because we were on the north side of town.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I get it, yeah. So that was the plot point you didn't want to chase because it was all the way down there.
Exactly. So we found this, I got the name of this person who I think somebody beat in an arm wrestle, which turned up on a box in the homestead later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And instead of going back to the inn that night, we kind of stayed on the north side, which, yeah.
Oh, so that's kind of scuppered you a little bit, I think. Interesting. So there must be, I guess, some other clues to push you across to the north side from the south as well.
Yeah, I mean, the investigation takes us to a factory where things have been happening, and then there was a person in town who'd had their animal.
That's right, his pooch got killed. Ballbach got his pooch killed right
That was
inside
it,
his house.
yeah. And everything was happening up and down the riverbank, but there was this one person in town which was outside of the modus operandi of the beast. So we investigated that.
Yeah, the Schnauzer died, didn't it? Okay.
That led to a very interesting side moment where we randomly stumbled into the church because it was there and came across a fascinating side character, which leads to a fascinating training montage in the middle of the scenario, which I thought was quite weird.
I bet you would.
I mean, I wasn't against it because my character, gained some points, but I was also like,
what skill did you go for?
I think I did
The dodge, probably.
No, I studied lore.
Okay, cool. So you went for like lore ghoul or lore local lore.
I think I went for local lore Vestovia folklore.
Okay, cool. Nice. That's what I was getting at the start when I was talking to Sweet and saying, did they actually touch on these sort of more campaign elements? And I'm glad you did discover that because it's kind of weird and cool. And it's like almost like a separate little side scenario, a bit like Masks. You get these little doesn't really matter scenarios stuck in there just to discover.
Yeah.
The only difficulty with that was the priest insistence, come and see me in the morning. And so we halted the investigation to come and see him in the morning, or made sure everything was wrapped up so we could come and see him in the morning, which delayed us from because we'd come from the homestead, found the Teamster's name, rather than going back across town, faffing with the boatman. And in talking to the Teamster, we stayed on the north side to meet with the priest.
Okay. So I'm guessing we're really into the investigation intrigue now. So did they follow the correct leads, Sweet, or did you push
Oh
stuff
no,
into them?
they somewhat followed the leads correctly in this investigation. They are first getting sent to this warehouse where all the dead animals are.
Yeah.
Then they basically get 2 points to touch on, which is either the bank where a lot of dead animals were found, or the house of the guy with the dead schnauzer.
We went to the Schnauzer because it was closer.
You went to the schnauzer because it was closer, exactly.
Holy shit. Okay.
That is just a fun little side character. There's not much in it.
He has the painting.
He has the painting. That is biggest touch point of it. And then they went up the riverbank eventually in a little boat, which is always fun if your investigators are in a little boat because
And they can't swim.
Whoever can swim and whoever has boating skills, so you let them roll something and then they will land in the water eventually, unless on the off chance somebody has actual boating skills.
I'd actually just like to take a moment to point out that while Albach's a fun little side character, it was us visiting Albach and understanding his connection to it that allowed me to click everything in place and pretty much solve what was going to happen.
We started trying to, as the investigation, try to figure out what kind of monster are we going after. I mean, the first adventure, it was obvious it was vampires, lesbian vampires. And the second, and this one, it was something that's destroying the animals, that half digesting them or something, or melting them, and then leaves them. So it wasn't like the impression that we were first getting was it must be a werewolf, is that we were being drawn into assuming.
A giant snake.
We assumed it was a snake because of slither marks over on the riverbank by Albach's house. So it was like going through the snake. So it must be dissolving. Or it's a river monster because there's a river. It has to be a river monster, right? Giant catfish is one of our ideas.
Catfish, definitely catfish.
Right. And so river monsters doesn't equal werewolf. So what kind of creature is this? Is it some type of, eldritch fishman or something? We couldn't figure it out. So it was a lot of guessing and investigation work of what are we going after? Whereas in the other adventure, we figured it out super quick.
Yeah. In this adventure, what the big bad was really, really intriguing. It was difficult to find out what we were after and, more importantly, how we were going to get rid of it.
Yeah, it was well laid. I think the animals were a little bit too small to really start the investigation. That was my only sort of quibble about it. It's like, here's a few mangled animals they found in the river. It's like, the small animals get mangled all the time in these settings. I mean, is this really going to get the magistrate to bring people in?
Yeah, if the magistrate's friend had his dog killed and wanted somebody to look into it.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. So, right, okay, so you actually start off knowing, I didn't realize that, you start off knowing the Schnauzer's dead?
No, what I'm saying is that would have been more of a hook if the guy had been friends with the magistrates and he's up there.
Oh yeah, that'd be a brilliant hook.
First, there's livestock in the outer area being killed. Then there's it's being found on the riverbank, and then now we're finding something inside someone's house that's being attacked. So it's whatever it is, it's getting bolder.
Well, they eventually going to run into a dead human, but as Emo said, I think it makes sense that you've just should be given the Schnauzer information earlier, and it's where it's gonna be this magistrate's friend's dog got killed and he's all upset about it, and so we're looking into it, and don't you want to check it out? It's probably nothing. You can give it that hook, and that makes a bit more impetus than just well, livestock is getting killed.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I was surprised that you came all this way just for this. It seems like something the sheriff would deal with. But yeah, the Schnauzer's a really good hook. Cosmic, I think that would be a better one. This getting the sort of top brass to bring in the big guns just for this fucking stupid Schnauzer. You could really Kafka-esque it up with all this red tape. You've got to sign in the magistrate's office, like about liabilities and stuff like that, and then you have to go to the church to get sanctified or whatever because he's convinced it's a werewolf or something.
That would be cool, yeah.
But it's it's just I think it's one of these things you got to turn it up to 11 a little bit. It's again, it's very pulp, so you kind of got to go that extra foot.
It's a penny dreadful. I mean, the style of the artwork is fantastic. It really is that kind of campy, kind of B-movie-esque adventure that really attracted me to playing the game.
Right. There's a story in the first one about the child having a romantic thing that went wrong, and she got seduced off into a place. Here, there is another tragic love story that's involved, leads to the monster becoming a problem.
Well, it's Gothic horror. Gothic horror usually revolves around a romance or a relationship gone wrong.
It's forbidden love of some type.
Yeah. So you've got the Draculas, the classic. So the investigation went well enough, but it's just I got a little bit sidetracked with some of these mad characters. Basically, that's what I'm getting here.
I also really like the fact that, as we've said a couple of times, in this style and in the settings, we're going after monsters, because that's not always the case of Call of Cthulhu. But it's a very stylistic and pleasant choice that fits with, again, that penny dreadful idea.
Oh, the investigation from my keeper point went pretty good. They went to Orbach's house and checked out with the painting and the Schnauzer. And then you went to the church. You see Father Gregory. Fun thing, Father Gregory is actually a descendant of the witch hunter, of which they heard in the first adventure.
Kind of a Father Helsing character.
Exactly, he's the Helsing character. If you get his character portrait, you're like, yes, a important character, I see. And then from then on, he didn't give you too much because you couldn't give him too much. And he doesn't actually know that much about the mystery itself unless you give him some sort of information of what has happened at the Klotz homestead.
Scene of the crime.
But that's where you went next, is the homestead.
Yeah.
And that is actually the scene of the crime. And that is actually a very fun part of the adventure, because you have all these locations at the homestead, and you basically have double description from it. For when they visited first time, and then for when they visited in the end game, which is kind of a very nice and practical thing that they did. I like that.
Yeah, it's nicely done. There's a lot of cool things there as well. I can't remember, is Klotz there, or is he the baker's home? I can't remember which.
He's not here when they visit here the first time.
Okay.
Or at least not beknownst to the players.
Mm-hmm.
He is actually there. He's the goat, but he doesn't do anything.
Right, yeah, of course, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Slipped across the river.
He can slope across the river and go into the drainage pipe.
That was something that I picked up on. So Lots is the goat at the homestead, and then we also meet him at the Carlson residence, which is across the ferry at the other end of the town. And then we meet him as a goat again back at the Klotz homestead. And it's like he's run across town twice in that period.
The goat following you around town. Very kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. And he does, clearly. But it's just that case of maybe there needs to be something establishing that he's following us or something different, because it feels like he just appears wherever we are. I'm all for large animals following people around town.
Yep, sounds like a good one. Yeah, there's just some similarities there, Hedge. It's kind of fun. Okay, so yeah, the homestead itself, did you explore it a lot, or did you just kind of like look at it, shrug, and leave?
No, the homestead was really the scene of the crime. Of you're confronted by this skeleton in a wheelchair, which has been subjected to some crazy experiment with all kinds of motivations. Lightning rods, everything like that. Some weird technology in the house, an ice room.
Tesla-like experiments.
Exactly. So there was a lot to unpick there, and it was really interesting trying to figure out what was going on, because we knew there was something going on, but quite how this exploded, fried skeleton featured into it, it was just really, really fun to try and pick all that apart. And Mike did a really, really good job of figuring it out.
Right, because there was like a portrait of him and his girlfriend on his lap that somehow survived. There was a room where he had been sick and dying and
Yeah.
given first rites upstairs. There was, I think, some writings in the library where one of the maids had made a last survival with a shotgun firing in all random directions. I think they gave more clue about his past romance with Pauline or Elizabeth. She had basically given up on him because he was too sick to marry off. And I think that
Oh no! She didn't. She was forced to leave him by his
Was she?
parents. It's tragic.
right. So that's why he chose to take more radical medical treatment.
Well,
But there was no actual witnesses to talk to. You had to find it all through
Yeah.
paperwork. She was the only one. She was the only one who was not dead at the scene. So that's why we went after to go look for her.
well, there was the good doctor himself as well. I think perhaps some sort of shepherd or someone seen it from the field might have helped a little bit. Sort of rumors in the pub. He could have added that as well. But yeah, I think it's a good scene and stuff. So did you all enjoy that?
Yeah. The only issue I remember around the homestead, first of all, I loved it. I thought especially the house was really well done. It was quite exciting to explore. I love a good haunted house. There was lots of sand rolls really close together inside the house,
Yeah, because of all the gore.
which meant that lots of characters went insane.
Okay.
Lots of gore
Yeah.
all over the place.
Okay.
Literally piles of organs everywhere.
When you just layer them up like that, 1, 2, 3, it's just a really good way to force a bout of madness, which is great if you want one to happen. But if you're sort of in the middle of an investigation, just sort of derails everything, which is also great fun, and we loved it.
Okay.
But it's something to consider, like how many sand rolls you put in such a small area.
I think we got distracted a little bit by all the slaughterhouse and the other types of outbuildings. It's kind of a possible decoy to the investigation.
Okay, so it was a lot to take in, basically, is what you're saying. And there was a lot of sand rolls there. I think sand rolls are one of these things a lot of keepers struggle with, or a lot of authors. They kind of like either have not enough or they really cram them in there rather than just letting it be a little bit natural. But a keeper can always tone them down, I suppose. Okay, so on to the action and thrills. How did we get on when we actually encountered Klotz?
That is actually the next thing, is they're going to the Carlson residence
His girlfriend's
Yeah.
place.
to see the former fiance and her current husband, Paul,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
who's weird.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a little bit weird. I read these texts. It was pretty cool though. I was like saying, "Oh, I hope he doesn't talk normally," and he doesn't. This was pretty good.
I really liked it.
So explain that for us, sweet.
Yeah, the husband has been killed by Edgar, and Edgar has slurped himself over him to take possession of him, and is maybe comparable to that cockroach wearing a farmer
Yes.
suit in
In black.
The Men in Black. Yeah.
Yeah, they do cite that as one of their media references, so I'm guessing that's where they got it from. So, did you actually trigger him, or did you actually just leave him alone? How did that go, Cosmic?
It was really well done. We arrived at the homestead of this person wearing the flesh suit, and it was great to use our investigative skills to see, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with this chap. And it wasn't until my character, gave him a hearty handshake, leant in aggressively, gave him a hearty handshake, slapped him on the back, was he able to do a roll to see, yeah, this guy isn't breathing, he's wrong. And then it was kind of like, okay, wave goodbye, out the door. Then we started to cause a commotion.
So the two Serbians could sneak in the back.
Exactly. Literally as a rescue mission, because we knew that the lady was in danger, and the two English guys were all about saving the maiden by having an argument in the street out front.
Oh, good God.
Creating a distraction.
Excellent, I love it. So you already knew he was taken or possessed or whatever before you actually went there?
Had the suspicion because Hedge put it together.
Oh, okay, but that was from the priest, was it?
No, that was, we realized what he was. We had sort of mostly figured it out, and we realized that if you were, I think there was some reference along the lines of, there was this painting he really liked and this woman he really loved, and he'd gone for the painting, and clearly the next thing he was going to do was go for the woman he loved. So we went to see Emily
Oh,
Carlson.
yeah, well thought out. That's good. Nice. So 2 went around the back to try and sneak in. Did you get away with it?
No.
Awesome.
We ended up in a fairly dangerous pitched battle that we somehow, I think someone got an extreme on a firearms check or something else like that. So we were lucky
Okay.
for the dice rolls, and so we chased it away and it escaped
It's all good.
into
Right, you rescued her from her
Yeah.
husband,
Yeah.
possessed by her ex-fiance.
yeah.
And he managed to stop being the husband, be injured, get across town, and be in the form of the goat in the time it took us to catch the ferry and go across town.
Well, that's why you always have to wait for the ferry.
Oh, is that why the ferry's there to slow you down from chasing it?
Yes. If
Interesting.
it was a bridge, we would have beat him back.
You could really play Gunther off and just really going through the sort of paces, and again, just that sort of like bureaucracy of the payment and stuff, and getting the last person on.
Yeah, so that was the non sequitur there, but I guess it makes sense. Like that's also what would happen if it was a horror movie.
Okay, sweet. How did you find using him in combat? Did you think he was strong enough, or was he too strong, or what?
He was actually pretty strong, but in that first scene, he will take flight as soon as he's heard by the investigators, which is the call, because they're supposed to encounter him the next time at the farmhouse. Was supposed to be the end game.
Unless you crit him with an elephant gun, you're probably not going to kill him.
Exactly. He's just like the vampires. Actually, he's quite immune to piercing and shooting damages. He just gets half, I think. If you set him on fire, you'll be better off. Just like a vampire.
So did you get frustrated that you couldn't cross the actual river fast enough, or was it that just sort of fed your sort of wants to go and find this thing again?
I don't think it was a race to get there. No, he just figured that's where he would go. It's not like we have to get there before he does blank, blank, blank while he's there. It's just we figured that's where he was going, and we eventually corner him there.
Yeah, because we'd saved the maiden,
right?
And it was just finishing off the monster.
Yeah.
Right.
So where did you head next? Did you head to the windmill, or did you head back to the Klotz?
What windmill?
Oh no.
We couldn't go to we didn't go to the windmill because we never met the Lord in his manor because he was off hunting. So
that had nothing to do with it. You didn't talk to the teamster. He would have pointed you towards the windmill, and the teamster would have. There were actually, I think I gave you a second clue towards the teamster. There were the cases at the Klotz homestead with the teamster's name on it, and I think I gave you a receipt or something. But you never talked to him, and he would have pointed you towards the windmill, and that's why you totally missed the windmill.
So you never did that at all, did you? No.
Yeah, we hadn't clocked the windmill as existing at this point in time.
But we were pretty sure it was the Baron who was running around the countryside, killing off all these monsters.
I'm so sorry, Cosmic. You'd have loved that scene. Oh well, never mind. So where did you end up to confront the monster?
We were split up and looking in different areas, so he had a chance to grab one character by himself.
Okay, so you're basically just manhunting him through the streets of the city, basically, or the town.
Yeah. So we...
No. He'd already retreated across the river, being the goat, and we found him in the slaughterhouse at the crime scene.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. So it was just basically another confrontation after that?
We chased him through the slaughterhouse.
You tried to burn down the slaughterhouse with him in it, but then he slurped his way the riverbank and went after another player who was off by himself and tried to strangle him in the river.
That's one thing I was interested about. It's like he can take the form of other people. I was wondering if he would take any of the PCs and do a sort of body switch.
I would have totally done it if he would have killed one of the players alone.
Would have been great.
Yeah.
And when he's wrapped around one of the characters, strangling him, we had to shoot each other with the thing on the outside of us. And so...
Pretty interesting, I suppose, yeah. So how did you find the actual final climax went?
Yeah, the adventure came to a head. We found the person. It was a little bit similar to the Kiss of Blood in that you have arrived at the castle and now you have to fight the monster in its home ground. And, that's what we did. It was very tense because, as Mike said, It was slurped around us like a shoggoth, trying to envelop us, and it was really quite thrilling. You know, the rolls of the dice. It was good, and then you felt very happy when you finally defeated it.
Nice. Everyone felt they had a part to play.
I felt a little sorry for the fellow, but it could have been worked up just a little bit higher, I think, and more sympathetic and nice.
Okay. Yeah, it does say like he has like some memories that are kind of lingering in him, but because his family's blown to pieces, I think having the family there or the mom or dad maybe just in a hospital somewhere and like being quite tight-lipped about it could be something that could have added some emotion to it.
Or maybe while he's wrapped around your head, he's whispering into your ear or something. It would be nice.
Oh, that's creepy. I like that. Yeah, that's cool. So, what role did you play, Hedge, in this finale?
I think I shot the monster a bunch and tried desperately not to die.
You set the barn on fire too.
Yeah, no, I got my character was an investigative journalist, so he was the guy trying to solve the mystery.
Serious investigator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so he'd figured out kind of what it was, and he was the one who was sort of searching for it, and he was the one. We had this lovely scene where I knew that it was Goatee McGoatface, and I was giggling to myself as I approached this goat. And the goat basically tried to run me down, and I then tried to set it on fire. But it eventually, I was terrified and trying not to die while also trying to burn the thing down because I wasn't a fighter, while also, surviving. It's good fun.
Yeah, nice. So it looks like everyone enjoyed the finale pretty well as well. It was kind of like wasn't an easy fight. That's the main thing. There's nothing worse than an easy fight at the end of a Call of Cthulhu scenario.
I almost got married. Yeah.
You almost got married to the goat.
I was trying to find the most eligible widow in town.
And there was only one widow to find in the scenario.
That's right.
Oh no.
So she's mourning for the loss of her husband and her fiance while I'm hitting her up.
Jesus Christ, Mike. All right, fair enough.
To torture you for this, you were the one who was in the water throwing all your clothes away, thinking that Edgar might have gotten under your skin, right?
I think so, yes.
Oh, well, that's creepy. I suppose, I could see that with the whole...
That is very good for like a bout of madness for a player, that they think is like, oh no, he's already gotten you. You already are him.
Bit of double think going on. All right, so what was everyone's favourite and least favourite parts? Let's start with Cosmic.
Most favourite part was the actual monster itself. I was trying to figure out what it was. We had, like I say, we had the skeleton, which had been fried by lightning. Mike was absolutely certain that it was still in the place where we were, so he was hacking up pieces of meat in the cellar, hoping that the monster was going to be there and he was going to kill him. But my character was absolutely sure, and I was absolutely sure, that he was wasting his time. But no, he'd actually figured out that this flesh had come off of this man and was crawling around like flesh slug, trying to devour people. I thought that was fantastic.
To be fair, it was our 10th theory.
Oh well, you got there in the end. Awesome. Yeah, I quite like the way, even in the book, it describes it as moving on the land like an octopus would. It's really nice imagery.
Least favourite part for me was missing out on the main event, because there was a river down the middle. If there had just been a bridge or something where we had to pay a toll, so you had the option of going via the ferry, which was free, or paying a toll over the bridge, we would have got back, we would have talked to the teamster, we would have had the opportunity, as far as I understand it, on the front cover of the game, there are people running around with electro guns, and apparently that's what you get to do. And it was kind of like, wow, I just had no, from what we played and what was supposed to happen, I was kind of kicking myself that we didn't get a chance to, and we've only got ourselves to blame, because as you said, it's in our imagination. There is no barrier. We just go there. But as I say, if the schedule had been a little bit different, so if we'd have met, if we needed to meet the priest, we could have done that on the very first day. So the priest might have been our contact, or we bump into him in the pub, and then we could have gone back to the teamster and had more of the adventure. But like I said, that was just the way we played it. So like I say, the least favourite part was the river. A bit obstructive for me.
Fair enough. That's a fair comment. I think it's down to the player whether they'll like that or not. Okay, Mike, same for you. Favorite part, least favorite part?
I actually really enjoyed Schnauzer because it had
Okay.
it was, we've gone from like the warehouse where we found a bunch of bodies where it was found on a riverbank, anything could have killed it, to inside somebody's house. It was a closed door mystery. Something had
I
gotten
see.
into the house, strangled the Schnauzer underneath the painting, and then had slid like a snake back in out of a hole somehow, like to the doggy door or something, back into the river. That is such a delightful mystery. That, like, what kind of monster could have done that? And why would it kill a Schnauzer when it left all the other dogs untouched? I love that. It's just a closed door mystery.
What was your least favorite part, Mike?
I guess the Father Helsing guy. I didn't really get much out of him. Side quests. There was like this place over the Winston Tor up in the mountains or something where the bodies of the lords were buried or something, and I don't know. It was distractive to the main mystery to me.
Okay, I can see that as well. I think you could spend a good 4 or 5 sessions in this scenario just walking around. Quite a lot to it.
Finished it in 1.5, I think, didn't we? 1 3/4.
Definitely 2 sessions from what I know. Okay, so the hedge, your favorite and least favorite part?
I think I enjoyed the Carlson Resonance best. I think that it was done very well. I think that Paul Carlson as an NPC was really good. It was a lovely little problem to solve, which is kind of one of my favorite moments of Call of Cthulhu generally.
The aha moments.
Yeah, and then my least favorite moment, I think I'm going to sort of give a similar response to Cosmic, which is I feel like the town is the start felt a bit. We go place to place as we're trying to explore this very large town. I think because the start was slow because the town felt too large, and if we really shrunk it down a little bit and made it a little bit more streamlined, it would make for a better scenario.
I think that's a fair point. I think this scenario made the town feel, again, too big. Same as Kiss of Blood, that felt too big as well. Just be a little bit more of a tight-knit community and a smaller, sort of more compact thing. We could have really sold that environment more, I guess.
The world is fantastic, though.
Oh, yeah.
The richness of this environment is fantastic. I'm thinking of borrowing the lore and the area for an adventure I'm going to be this year just to play in this environment.
Oh, you'll be well happy to know that. That's awesome. Okay, sweet. Same for you. Favorite and least favorite?
I really enjoyed the entire scenario a lot. It gave me some good things to play with as a keeper. I think the thing I enjoyed the most was the Klotz homestead in both of its iterations. In the first one, where the players investigate the mystery and roll a bit too many SAN rolls. It's also a lot of SAN rolls because my players already had very low sanity to begin with.
Fair.
But I enjoy driving them mad there, and every player gets shot by another player while coming out of the house screaming some stuff. It's a good time. And then especially also the second time where the scenario tells you if they go into here, Edgar might do this. And then there's the drainage pipes that go to different parts of the homestead and you have a map of the drainage pipes, so you know where you can send him slithering.
Oh, it's very aliens. I like
Exactly. Where you have your keeper map, and it's like he can go from here to here, and you can't. And I enjoyed that immensely, actually. And I did enjoy the Carlson residence a lot, where you get to play the odd Paul. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed this adventure very much, and a lot more than Kiss of Blood, actually.
Okay, sounds awesome. And your least favorite part?
Is that my players didn't get to go to the windmill.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's just a very cool setting.
It is very cool.
What's at the windmill?
So much stuff. It's unbelievable.
So much stuff. But what they're in a short thing, you find the Pettibone, the doctor, the crazy one, and he'll show you his laboratory, which is all weird in the windmill.
Huh?
And then in front of you, if you let him, he'll turn a monkey into a flesh thingy, and then you get to fight the flesh thingy monkey. And then you might.
Don't we get to chase thingy with the electro gun?
Exactly, and then you might get one of the electro guns. and then he might tell you a way that you need to electrogun Edgar, and then you can try to actually save him, schlep him to the windmill, and then do some sort of ritual / weird science thingy to restore him back to life.
The scenario is set up like with two factions, and you're meant to like choose whether you're with saving Edgar or you're hunting him down, basically. And that's the sort of Van Helsing character and the Doctor sort of playing opposite sides of the same coin, sort of thing. It's meant to be the drama of the players picking sides, I think. But yeah, you've got to find both sides to pick. So that's a bit of a shame, but yeah, I think played out pretty well without it. And it's one of the things about Call of Cthulhu or any tabletop role player. It's that the players win, really. So, do you have anything to plug? Cosmic, you've got things to plug.
No, just head over and see what I'm writing on my blog, www.roll4sanity.com. Then that's a number 4.
Nice one. And Mike, do you have anything to plug?
No, I just go to mess up other people's campaigns. I got no media properties.
Fantastic. Hedge, anything to plug?
My 2 scenarios, politics as usual, and oh god, what's the llama scenario called?
Llama in the
alpaca in the sheep field, my friend.
My 2 scenarios, politics as usual, and alpaca in the sheep field, are for sale on Drive-Thru RPG. Alpaca in the sheep field is really close to getting its bronze badge, so please go buy it.
That's fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, Hedge, you got anything to plug as well?
You just went with Hedge. You wanted to go with Sweet. But I don't have anything to plug, but you can always argue with all of us at the Nook Discord.
Sure. Sounds good to me. All right, guys, I'll see you again some other time.